Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the first episode of Zurich's Risk to Resilience, a series that follows Zurich sustainability engagements across the world, tracking the key climate moments that we observe. Our aim is to bring Zurich leaders and external experts together to explore the anticipation of climate risks and how we build resilience. Our first episode is on planning power for the AI economy. AI is driving one of the fastest surges in electricity demand in decades, and data centers are scaling at unprecedented speed. And the question no longer is, will that demand continue to grow, but rather will energy systems be able to absorb that growth without increasing emissions and systemic risk? We wanted to make sure that we provide the perspective of a leader who truly knows what it means to run a business at scale, whilst also still keeping values such as people and planet in mind. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Jesper Brodin, former CEO of IKEA, known as IKEA, and senior advisor to the IKEA Foundation.
Wow, thank
Welcome,
you.
Jesper.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Of
And
course.
so cool to be here on the first Zurich Climate Week.
I know. I think it's a pretty big deal for all of us here today.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So, we thought we'd ask you a first question, considering you have led one of the most recognizable companies in the world. I mean, I think over 160,000 coworkers and blue boxes worldwide. You've also led the company through serious disruptions, such as pandemic, global conflict, social pressures, and a shift in sustainability, and now AI. How have you managed to keep IKEA values rooted in decision-making while still making the organization competitive for a rapidly changing world?
What a good question. I think on the note of resilience, it's interesting. Not everybody knows, but the company is special in many different ways. But one of the unique things with the financial construct of IKEA is it's always been built on one financial policy, which is that we need to earn the money before we spend it. So I think IKEA is like one example of resilience. No loans, super strong balance sheet, built for a rainy day. And the last 10 years, there's been a lot of rain. So we needed to sort of bank on that resilience. But I think on the culture note, it's interesting. Culture for us in IKEA, it's about a true mission, a true purpose, which in our case is about creating a better everyday life for the many people, in particular in life at home, but in general across our value chain. And then it's a set of values that unites us. And the cool thing, I think, during the last 10-year period was, when the pandemic hit, we were actually quite fast in resolving things. You know, when the pandemic made IKEA close down globally, we didn't have online in IKEA.
No online at all.
No, and it looks like
just
it's 100 years ago, but it's only 10 years ago.
Okay.
And we basically had UK app as a pilot, and we had a 3-year plan of implementation. We did it in 6 weeks across all countries and places. And when I got the question from somebody from Financial Times, actually, how I could have taken so much good decisions as a CEO, for a moment I thought that was wonderful to hear. But the truth is, like, if you have a strong culture, people don't feel paralysis when there is a crisis. They feel engaged. And I think that's one of the signs of a strong culture. People take action and act with speed when there is a need for it.
And how do you make sure that you inspire that? I mean, if we're constantly in a risk-based environment and we know that they're becoming more interconnected, how do you make sure that your people know that they can take risks themselves in that context?
Well, I think it's one of these eternal questions, and I still ask myself on how I could do that and could have done that even better. But I think 2 things. You have to walk the talk, you have to be out there, you have to show up. And then the constant encouraging for people to make mistakes and test and try things. I even went to
card?
I went to, it's classic by now. I went to it's like a sign of desperation on my leadership maybe, but
Okay.
I met a group of people who told me that even in IKEA they felt afraid of making mistakes. Though everything we speak to in our culture and try to encourage, even, Ingvar, our founder, he said, I'm going to give 1 million Swedish crowns to the best mistake every year. And then he looked at me and he said, no, you're going to win it every year, so I'm not doing it. Now, what I did was I issued a card, basically a bananas card, where if you do something, if you have a dream
Is
and
there
you
an
want to
actual
pursue
picture
that.
of a banana on there?
Yeah, I can give you a card later.
Perfect.
And the thing is, I have co-signed an apology for the mistake. So you only add your name, and then you're together with the CEO apologizing for your mistake. And
So
And that
encouraging
has been
taking the
handed
risk.
out to a lot of people. And we created a documentation around some of the incredible breakthroughs, but also some of the fun mistakes that came out of it. So that's just
Great.
one way of doing it.
I mean, you're in the world of insurance, and for us, we think a lot about how we understand risk and price it. But in your role as CEO, did you actually think about risk? Was this something that informed your decision, or are we just obsessing about
Never.
something that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course we do. I think in IKEA, and I think obviously everybody does it. To a certain extent, I have to admit that when I go back 10, 15 years and I look how we used to work with risk methodology around it, we would identify, we would look at impact and likelihood, we would discuss it, we put it in the files, and nothing very much never happened. And now we're living all of those crises, to be honest, each one of them that we can almost imagine at the same time. So I think living in a risk exposure has got a totally different meaning in the last decade or so. But it's also, I think the interesting thing, I think the generation of leaders of today is becoming very good. There are some people who haven't been able to sustain their leadership during these times, but a lot of people are just very good at navigating crisis and issues, to the point that I'm starting to think that there is a risk that we become problem junkies because we're good at it. And the world is not about solving problems, it's about dreaming and having visions and acting on opportunities. I think in such crazy times, to reserve time for that spirit of innovation will become even more important.
But if leaders are so confronted with risks on, from geopolitics to business disruption, how can you then maintain that long-term view? Because, climate, for example, is one of those risks that we see on the longer-term horizon, although effects are immediate today, but it's something that we have to plan long in the future for. So do you think that we're set up for that?
It's
today?
never easy, right? But I think if you look at the climate topic, I think I sometimes hear people are not aware, people are not committed, there is no progress, it's going too slow. My view is all of those statements are absolutely wrong, and I actually have facts to prove it. So if you
Tell
look
us.
if you look at the awareness, the risk analysis made by World Economic Forum,
Oh, I think
I
we
think
might
you
have
even have
downloaded
that
it. Yes.
picture somewhere. Let's see.
Yes, it's a report that's
I'm
very
going to go
clear.
through this in detail now. I don't know, but it speaks a very clear language. You see, in the in the short-term perspective, it's an array of the risks that we all know. But when you ask leaders of the world, what do you see in the 10-year perspective? It's a very unanimous picture about it's connected to planetary boundaries, to environmental issues. So awareness is there. And when you look at, we don't have the picture here, but if you go to the United Nations Global Compact's latest research, the commitment to sustainability among CEOs is north of 90%.
Okay.
And recently, it's been growing very fast. The understanding of the business case, or the potence of the business case, has been rising as well. So today, 88% of the world CEOs, I think 23,000 of them asked, claim that the business case for sustainability is better than 5 years ago, which is true. It is. And then you look at the speed of change. It's mind-blowing what's going on. If I go back to the first climate week I attended back in 2018, not in Zurich, in another place called New York, I remember we came with commitment and faith and belief that this was important for us, but we didn't have much to prove. If I look what has happened down the road at IKEA with an enormous progress, also financially from a benefit side on it. But if I give you as an example, the World Economic Forum CEO Climate Alliance. Now, if you take the combined 133 multinational companies who are part of that alliance, and you add that scope 1, 2, and 3 end to end, if it would be a country, it would be the third biggest country in the world when it comes to carbon. So for me and for us, it's like, if we're going to change the world, we need those companies. If they can't do it, it's not possible to be done. But if they can do it, it's good news. None of these companies had a plan or a commitment or progress 8 years ago. Today, the last 3 years measured, there's been a progress of minus 12 in absolute carbon.
Wow.
And a growth of more than 20%. So the proof of that actually it's good business to be a good business is out there. So I would say we started late. We woke up late, humanity, to the crisis. but the speed is quite daunting, and we need to do much, much more, and we need to work faster and better together. But it's very good news what's going on out there, I
And
think.
were there any examples that you initiated or brought into IKEA that kind of had that cost competitiveness, the kind of security, but also doing the right thing
Yeah.
when it comes to transition?
Well, we tried a lot of things. Some of them didn't work. But if you look at the total landscape of IKEA, it's quite fascinating because IKEA, since Paris Agreement, IKEA has grown by 24% top line, and the carbon is down by 30% absolute, not relative to the growth, but actually absolute. And if you look what we did, a lot of it is investments in renewable energy. So the ecosystem is today invested 140%. We're trying to get it right end to end and continue. But IKEA today is actually a mid-sized utility company for energy. That was not the strategy. It sort of just
Helpful now,
happened. 4.5 billion euro invested in renewables. And we had years, the last decade, when the revenue of being a utility company and a home furnishing company was not insignificant in the crisis. So, and then except for that revenue, except for the lowering of the energy bill, which is significant, the independence of energy, which is, I think anybody would agree to that would be a good idea. But not only so, electrical mobility is coming across, waste, reduction of waste in everything. So, climate smart is resource smart, is cost smart. So I think in the early stages of circularity, what we're doing, everything we touch almost has a great business opportunity because we do things smarter with less resources. So today, the company has saved billions of euros thanks to being climate smart.
I mean, I
Who
think
would have
that's
known a few years ago?
a strong message, and I think you're known for saying it's good business to be a good business. And we talked about how it's important that CEOs take on that leadership and provide that message. But in an environment where customers today potentially are not willing to pay for that premium and governments are financially constrained, if businesses are just catering to demand, how do we square that? Who takes the lead on this? Is it the job of CEOs, or where does that sit for you?
Well, I think, to be honest, I think there are two things normally CEOs ask of political leaders. It's consistency over time and alignment across borders. And it's been chaotic the last years, to be honest. So I think CEOs would be maybe politically correct not to express it as clear as I did now, but it's been a lot of failures, I think, the last years on policy overrun to doing nothing and everything in between. However, I think the thing is, you touched one, I think, mythical area of being climate smart, and that is you shouldn't go for doing it as a premium, because if you do that, you basically do the expensive way. You add something on top of, you make it marginal, and you don't have the economic benefits of it. I think for me, there was like a moment of insight when we had a GlobeScan review with 34,000 IKEA customers across the whole world who came back with 68%. This is a couple of years ago. 68% of our customers claim that the biggest concern they have is climate change in the long-term perspective, but only 6% says they are willing to pay more. And I thought, to be very honest, that meant that people don't care after all. A few weeks after this, I went to do a home visit in Belgrade. I met a lady, 2 kids, single mother. Her mother comes in every day to help her out. She has 2 jobs. She looked at me and she said, "Do you think I can afford it?" I was like, "Okay, good." So if you want climate smartness, you need to basically re-engineer your value chain. You just don't do a little bit on the top. And when you do that re-engineering, then you get the full economic scale. You're basically leaving one economic model and you enter something smarter. It's not always easy. Not all industries have the solutions, but most actually do. So that's how you need to do it.
It's really interesting that you say, because from an insurer perspective, I mean, we think day and night about how we support our customers and how can we show up to provide those insights so that, we can play a role in exactly what you're trying to do. But it would just be really interesting from your perspective to see how can we better support customers like IKEA in, making this possible.
So I brought a long list here of, no, I think there are 3 things. I think you're doing great. I think you also over the years have done a lot. I mean, us being here is a sign of your commitment and showing up. So it's wonderful. If there are 3 things I would think of, I think people trust you and trust your data. I think you could be the leader on contributing to the truth, what actually is going on, and be good at repeating that. I think you could do an even better job in the right way in this politicized world, so to say. Both have the courage and find your narrative angle with the trust that sits with your brand to share the story of what's actually going on in the world. And then I think, like you do now, to take a leadership of convening the world around topics. There are things that you as a company in your scope 1, 2, and 3 need to address. But I think you will have a much bigger impact if you actually support the rest of us out there with convening us around the most important risk areas and see how we can resolve them together.
So ultimately, good business is good business, and we need to just continue the journey that we started. And maybe just a final question, because I know Ingvar, the founder of IKEA, you were quite close to, and it was a journey. And you've said so many times about how he's inspired you through quotes. But is there anything that you can draw from that relationship to give a view of the audience of what we?
Well, sometimes when somebody's not around anymore, the stories becomes even more important. And what I found with Ingvar is like some of the wisdom from him becomes almost eternal. And I give you one of the moments we had, me and a colleague, we had a moment with him. The second last time I met him, on his porch, we had a coffee and we asked him, so Ingvar, I think he was 90, 91 years old. And we said, how should we think about the future? And he said, you should think long term, he said. And he said that all the time. So we said, just for the sake of variety, so how long term? And he said, 200 years is good. And I think about Zurich is it's only 150 years.
150, not
but
200.
The thing is, I can't let go of that, because what I think to leaders out there today, occupied with all these things happening right now, zoom out 1 year, 3 years, 7 years, what is going to be the real trends and where do you place your leadership? And, to a certain extent, the politicians will come and go, viewpoints will come and go, but things like the climate issue, it's unfortunately not something that comes and goes. It's here and we haven't yet resolved it. So zoom out a little bit, and then I think people will remember where you, also in the uncomfortable situations and times and places of the world, people will remember not only what you spoke about, but also your silence. So I think the importance of actually showing up in a smart way, but also saying this is something that we are here to be part of resolving together.
I think that's a strong message. And I don't know about our audience, but I'm inspired as always. And we just can't thank you enough for taking the time to come speak to us today.
Thank you. Thank you
during
for what you
Zurich
do.
Climate Week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.